Have you had a K-1 visa disaster? Like during the K-1 visa process, somebody asked you to lie or falsify information or documents, or you got to the United States and it was nothing like you thought it was going to be, and there was abuse or even extortion. Maybe you never married, maybe you did marry, but you're never able to file. And these tricky rules have come up about not being able to file for a residency case based on anyone other than the person who scammed you or abused you or had you commit fraud in the first place. So, if you've had a K-1 disaster, what can you do? One of the things that you can consider is being screened for a possible T visa, which is a method of legalizing your immigration status and obtaining a 4-year work permit. My name is Helen Tarokich. I'm a North Carolina board certified immigration law specialist. I'm a licensed attorney in the state of North Carolina and a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Please subscribe for more information. I'm going to talk a little bit more about K visas and T visas. So, some of the rules that you may already know if you've had a K visa is that the purpose of the K-1 visa is to marry a U.S. citizen within 90 days of arrival. The K-1 visa sticker in your passport itself is only valid for one entry within 6 months of getting that sticker. And then once you enter the United States on the K-1 visa, this 90-day clock starts, right? So that's like the 90-Day Fiancé show, which, by the way, makes me completely insane, and I cannot watch that show. So, the K-1 visa basics. Work authorization is not automatic. The foreign fiance, which would be the immigration candidate, has to file for work authorization upon arrival. For people who don't marry within 90 days, then basically that visa expires and the K-1 cannot be extended generally. Also, if you stay beyond the 90 days and don't move forward with your immigration process for whatever reason, then you basically end up being out of status. That means you're accruing unlawful presence. That means it can lead to deportation or different immigration bars. But the biggest deal is that if you're not adjusting status to permanent residence based on marrying anyone other than the person who sponsored you for the K-1, that's where we have the biggest problem, right? Because that rule about not being able to get a green card through anybody other than the person you married is a really tough one. And the idea behind it would be that somebody wouldn't use the K-1 process to come in, kind of faking out one American, let's say, to then marry the person they were really in love with and then go from there. Or just overall, there were a lot of concerns about K-1 visa fraud. So those are the problems with the K-1 visa. What does the T visa do to fix it? So the T visa, hear me out. It is for victims of human trafficking. So please don't stop watching if you think you are not a victim of human trafficking, but you've also suffered a lot of hard times as a K-1 holder. Human trafficking is not just forced prostitution, although, of course, we do handle those cases as well. The T visa is for people who have been victims of labor abuses or sexual abuses. So the labor or sex exploitation rules in terms of how to qualify for a T visa can get a little complicated. We won't go into that too much today, but I'm just going to give some examples of what I would consider to be human trafficking for the purpose of applying for a T visa. Let's say a person has paid for somebody to sponsor them on a K-1 fiancé visa, with the goal being once you get to the United States, you're going to marry and then file for permanent residency. What happens once you get to the United States is not what was planned, right? The voluntary arrangement to commit visa fraud was one thing, but things stop being voluntary once the U.S. citizen sponsor starts threatening you, having you do like all household chores. Sometimes there's a forced essay assault. Sometimes the person never actually even lives with their sponsor, and instead the sponsor is saying things like, now you got to pay me $10,000. Now you got to pay me $15,000. Now you need to go work 100-hour weeks so that you can bring me this money, or I'm going to have you deported. Those would be the kinds of situations that we would consider to be human trafficking, because there is coercion and a threat in some ways of not to sponsor or to have deported this person if they don't engage in labor or sex that they ordinarily would not consent to. So whatever the original agreement or contract was, verbal or otherwise, about getting this visa, when the true intent was not to marry and build a life together, um, that type of misrepresentation normally has a lifetime bar. But whatever the original intent was, the voluntariness of that agreement ends as soon as the U.S. citizen sponsor uses force, fraud, or coercion to have the K-1 holder, the immigrant, do stuff they wouldn't ordinarily do. So if you have a broken T visa case, my suggestion is that you get a consultation with a qualified immigration attorney. Of course, these are cases we're interested in, but we're not the only law firm that does T visa cases. You can consult with other attorneys. But if the only experience you've had so far is that some lawyer yelled at you and said you never should have lied, then that was not, in my opinion, going to be a proper consultation. Instead, we want to screen folks for what has happened to them, what the original purpose of the K-1 visa was, how did things get broken or go sideways later on. Additionally, sometimes people have been in the United States for years and years and years on a K. Maybe there was never any abuse. Maybe the case just, it didn't work out about getting married and you overstayed your visa. Or you got married and never filed, broke up, again, maybe no abuse or something like that there. So where would the T visa fall in there? Maybe it would be a situation related to like a job, a different job that has nothing to do with your entry to the United States. Labor abuses or labor exploitation in the workplace often give rise to a T visa. So if you're not really comfortable with T visas yet, please watch our videos and subscribe for more. We have hour-long videos that talk about all of the basics of T visas, and it can really be a useful tool, not only to help legalize your immigration status, but to put on the record that whatever was in the past is now in the past, to come forward with the truth about what really happened, and to be forgiven if you have any immigration violations like fraud or misrepresentation. They really can help people sleep better at night. So thanks again for watching. My name is Helen Tarokich. I'm a North Carolina board certified immigration law specialist. Our law office is based in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's called Helen Tarokich Law, PLLC. And our number is 910-509-7145. Thank you.